Happy holidays, happy New Year's, and where have I been? We're going to talk about all that and more. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast, where each week I will be discussing all things fasting and how it can become the most valuable tool in your personal toolkit so that you can live a long, healthy, and meaningful life. I'm your host, Vicki Sharon, and thank you for joining me. Hello there. I want to thank you for your patience, for your understanding while I've had my time away from recording and putting out fresh podcast episodes for you. I do apologize, but it was an absence that I felt was necessary, as well as, I don't know if you can kind of hear, but I am still getting over a bit of a head cold kind of funk thing going on. So I apologize if my voice sounds a little bit off, but I am on the mend, and I feel like that talking and sharing through podcast episodes does maybe help to remedy the situation a little bit over time. So if you don't use it, you lose it kind of mentality is what I'm approaching, is what I'm using. So I'm going to go with it. So yeah, I've been in the sickies, the kind of feeling for a little bit. I've also, throughout the holidays, as a widow, as most of you probably know and understand, that widowed headspace that can happen and how it can overwhelm you very quickly and easily and feel like that, you get into this stuck kind of feeling. And this is something that has been compounding on top of where my headspace has been previously. And I'm owning it. I'm throwing it out there. I'm taking responsibility and I'm owning it. Yes, I have had a funky headspace for quite some time. Sometimes are worse than others, obviously. But throughout me still fasting daily, I've also, and it's challenging for me to even say and mention this, but this is my vulnerability. I'm opening the vulnerability door. Here we go. Yep. I have now started taking antidepressants. So I am noticing that the funky headspace and other traits, as I spoke to my doctor, were things that could be helped with small, low dose of antidepressants. So I'm owning, I'm not feeling shame or anything about that. It's something that I know is going to help improve not just mental state, but the improvement of me overall, so I can be a better fasting coach for every single one of you. And for that, I am thankful. So between that and the other thing that I notice that I had to do and decide in order to allow myself to be productive and move forward with the fasting focused lifestyle is I had to unfortunately step away from the other business that I have owned and operated since 2016. And that was a paint and sip franchise through the business Paint Night. And I had I had a business called Paint Night Orlando. And it was, if you've ever been to a paint night or a paint and sip kind of operation, it's the same thing. We had come to our operations where we would go to brick and mortar, preferably locally owned businesses, and set up a 2-hour painting kind of event and just have a good time and bring in folks that had signed up on our website. And generally they would be thirsty and maybe a little bit hungry for drinks, appetizers, wherever we would go. So it would give the business a little boost. And then we would have the paying customers, and it would be just like a great symbiotic kind of relationship with wherever we would be hosting these consistent venues. But I've noticed since coming back from COVID and that whole, halt in business that had resulted, things just weren't the same. And no matter how much I tried, how much effort and time I put into it, things just weren't going to be the same. So I had to accept that. And part of this evolution and growth and process that I advocate for, especially in fasting sense, is things change. Things evolve and change over time. And it's hard. It's really painful, especially if these things have been in your life, have been a beautiful part of you for so long, that sometimes we have to thank them, acknowledge that it's the end of your journey with this thing or person or place, and acknowledge that it's time to go into the next part of your life that probably doesn't have affiliation with that anymore. And that's hard because I've always associated myself as crazy paint night lady, the crazy artsy lady. But I've done a lot of introspective thoughts and reflections, thinking about how just because I'm leaving that position with that business doesn't take away from who I am. I'm still very much artsy fartsy, as I like to call it. I'm still very much an art nerd. I'm still extremely passionate about art and just that habit of practicing creative expression. It's something that's not going to ever leave me, no matter what I'm doing professionally. And I feel like maybe I've talked about this before, but how I can integrate artistic, creative angles and outputs and outlets and whatever. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's the sick mind sound of talking. Have that creative angle with what I'm doing with the fasting focused lifestyle. And I'm going to explore that and what that looks like for me the further on that I get in this journey in providing support creatively, artistically even, for each of you as time goes on. And that's something that's really excited for me. So as sad as it is to step away from who I was as double business owner lady, I think I'm going to be much happier when I devote my attention solely on the fasting focused lifestyle, with integrating those parts of me that maybe felt split and divided time-wise into other parts, where like I felt like I had to put on my fasting focused lifestyle hat and then take that off to do the paint night. But there was so much overlap that I'm noticing that can exist exclusively with my fasting focused lifestyle business operations. I can be the crazy, fun, silly, artsy lady still, while providing this empathetic, supportive, motivational, educational support to each and every one of you as my fasting clients when I support you. So it's maybe the end of this one path, this one journey with this business operation, but I feel like the road and path, I'm seeing it in my mind. It's just kind of like, I feel like, yes, that path has ended with paint night, but the path with the fasting focused lifestyle has evolved and like kind of upgraded a bit to where, yes, it's still going to be a path that has no end for me. It's good. This is going to keep going. But it's kind of enriched and fortified in a way, if that makes sense, so that I can integrate more time, more elements of me, while not feeling limited or feeling like I have to divide my time the way that I had been doing before, which was a little bit frustrating, disheartening, sometimes depressing. Yes. So all that combined, I'm excited and just keeping an open mind for what will come, what can come down the pipeline for me. So with all that, I want to know how you are doing. If you feel like the past maybe month and a half, the holidays, whatever, I'm curious to know how you're doing. So even if you have to pause this episode or, while you're listening to this episode, take some notes down. Send me an email. I'm really curious. I want to know how folks are doing. Vicki, VICKI, at thefastingfocuslifestyle.com. I would really like to get to a point where I'm taking questions and maybe topics from folks in email and then addressing them, talking about them, elaborating on them. And y'all, you can stay anonymous. I have no problem. Like, you can just put your initials or an alias or whatever, your neighbor's name, your dog's name, whatever. You can make it as public or anonymous as you like. But I really want to integrate more of you listening right now. What's on your mind regarding fasting? What's something that you would like me to talk about, to dive into maybe a little bit more deeply than I had in episodes previously? Is there an episode that you want me to dissect and talk more about in multiple episodes? I want to bring more folks into these episodes as much as possible so that you get a benefit from them. So it's not just me here sitting in front of my microphone, talking, reading from my notes that I've jotted down in my little fasting notebook. Yeah, so to piggyback on top of that, additionally, I'm curious to know, how are your holidays? I know we're on the 1st right now. I'm curious to know, how was your Thanksgiving? How was your Christmas? All that time in between. And how was your New Year's? Did things go the way that you wanted? Were your actions, behaviors, habits, did they all align with what your ultimate goal is for yourself? Or do you feel like you had a series of unfortunate events piggybacked on top of each other? Did you feel like there were some times that you had better days than others? Do you feel like there was some influences around? Were you influenced by the holidays? Give me some information. I want to really genuinely curious to know how things are going for you, because I hope throughout your journey that you're taking time each and every day as often as possible to reflect and zoom out. Here's a little artsy fartsy, tie in here for you, as I was talking about before. Zoom out. If you are hyper fixating and focusing on maybe one little instance in each of your day that tends to derail or, knock you over for the day, zoom out and see the bigger picture. Are all your habits, behaviors lining up the way that they should? Even if it's only small improvements and small changes, that's tremendously better than either staying still or going backwards. So I want you to think and encourage yourself to how you can reflect as often as possible throughout each and every day. And that's going to look different for everybody. So maybe for some that looks like having a few silent moments with your tea or coffee in the morning. Maybe for some that means while you're walking or taking a morning jog, or, going and taking a nice warm bath for yourself, or a nice hot shower in the morning. Maybe that's your time to reflect. Wherever you can integrate those mindful moments for yourself to take inventory of how your previous 24 hours were, how your previous week was, how your previous month was. The more you can do that with an open, compassionate mindset, without judgment, without ridicule of yourself, without comparing yourself and journey to anyone else's, the better things are going to be for you on this journey. So before I wrap it up, I again want to thank you all for just being here, just listening. You listening right now, I'm sending you a big, warm, happy New Year's, happy holidays, happy everything, thankful gratitude hug to you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you are getting yourself in a great, strong, fierce, focused, determined mindset for your health and wellness, because you deserve it. And if you find that you are in need of one-on-one coaching on your fasting journey with me, I still have my Black Friday sale running until the end of January. And all the details on that can be found on my website, thefastingfocusedlifestyle.com. And as I always say, and truly, truly mean, you listening right now, I hope you know that I truly believe in you. You can do this. Go get your after. I believe in you, even if you don't. Please take care of yourself, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks. The Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. Copyright 2024. The information given within this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your doctor before starting any weight loss method. Thank you.